What's up? This is Eric Darling with Darling Data or Eric Darling Data or one of those things. I don't care if you use my first name in there. You can just call me Darling. That's what most of my friends do. Back when I had friends, should have said did there. Anyway, I wanted to talk really quickly about something kind of funny that I noticed in query plans. And there's not like a whole lot of point to this. I don't know if it's like a bug or a behavioral change or really what's going on, but I just thought it was funny. And didn't think it warranted an entire blog post of me taking screen caps and writing things. So I'm just going to record a video again because that seems to be the default thing that I do now when I, I don't feel like writing a bunch of stuff down. So what I have here is a query, and this query kind of looks for duplicate display names in the users table for anyone who has reputation over 1 and then displays them. And if I run this query, if I have my cursor in the right screen and I run this query, it runs for a little bit because it's kind of a dumb query and also because I haven't added any indexes that would help this query out. So I'm just going to kill time talking while this thing finishes, and when I look over at the query plan, I have a warning. And the warning is about an excessive grant. And you can see that indeed here, SQL Server has asked for about 9.7 gigs of memory, but it only ended up using 4. So we have a warning that we asked for about 5 gigs too much memory to run this query. Cool. Got that. Wonderful. Now, this is SQL Server 2017, and I've heard all sorts of great things about batch mode memory grant feedback. But I need a column store table right now to get that, or I need some column store, rather, I need a column store index somewhere around this query to get that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to play a neat trick on the optimizer. And I believe this is Nico Neugebauer's trick. Ooh, I already created that. Good, smart of me. Whereas I'm going to create an empty temp table with a clustered column store index on it. And just to be safe, I'm going to clear out my plan cache. And then I'm going to run this query, and I'm going to join over to my column store temp table here. Not in a way that hopefully doesn't affect too much of the logic or anything in the query. And I'm going to run this again. And this is going to run a little bit faster because batch mode is, of course, magical, and everyone should love batch mode for absolutely everything in the world. I'm kidding. But really, it is pretty cool. But now when I go over and I look at the query plan, I don't have that warning anymore. I don't have that excessive grant warning anymore, even though the memory grant is still the same size. It's still 9.7 gigs. Now, if I go and I look at the memory grant details of the plan, if I go over and if I hit F4 to bring up properties, I can see that this query wanted about 12 gigs of memory. It only got about it only got the 9.7 gigs of memory, and then it only used about 540 megs of memory. Well, that's interesting, because you would think that a query that only used 540 megs but got 9.7 gigs, you might want to see an excessive grant warning. That might be something that you want to know about. And indeed, if we run this query again, I'm going to close the properties. If I run this query again, let me get rid of that, rerun this query, see what happens. It should take about the same amount of time. Maybe it'll be faster. Who knows? Who knows what's going to happen? The world is a crazy mixed up place. But if I run this again, if the query plan, the memory grant in the query plan adjusts down to about 718 megs. So we did get the memory grant adjustment, even though we didn't get the warning. So apparently, I don't think they're tied in together so tightly. And I know what you're thinking. Maybe you didn't get the warning because you did get the adjustment. Well, that's not entirely true, because there have been plenty of blog posts and Stack Exchange Q&As where that's come up. Even in other demos I've done, that has shown up in the query plan. But we can test that in a different way. So I'm going to clear out the procedure cache, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a hint. Disable batch mode memory grant feedback to see if maybe, because SQL Server was like, ooh, I'm gonna change that later. I'm not gonna warn you about it now. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's what caused that warning not to show up. So let's run this, and we'll see what happens. And this should take around about 6 seconds again. 5, 6, and there it is. It's done. I knew it. That was so good. And our warning has not shown back up. Interesting. And if I run this again, I'm not going to get the memory grant feedback. I'm going to continue using the same 9.7 gigs, even though I only need 540 megs. Well, I think that's pretty curious. I don't know what the intent is there. Anyway, that's all I had to show you. I thought it was an interesting little oddity in the query plan. Again, I'm Eric Darling with Eric Darling Data, or some variation thereof. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something, and I will see you again soon. Maybe. I hope. Bye.